Anybody in the waiting room or?
There is nobody joining us yet.
Okay, good. Yeah. I think we had an unfortunate incident last year where someone, the last time the full delegation meeting, a member was waiting in the waiting room and never got out of the waiting room. That's not gonna happen today. That's good. Okay. Okay, so I guess I'm ready to officially begin. So the hour is 9:06. Gilbert is taking the notes of the minutes of the meeting, which will probably probably be extremely thorough. So yeah, so I've scheduled a meeting. So I'm Timothy Horgan, the chair of the General Government Subcommittee. We're reviewing the budget for everything in the county that basically isn't the nursing home or criminal justice. So I've scheduled the meeting of the subcommittee for Friday at 9 a.m. in the Commissioners Conference Room. This meeting to review the following portion of the Strafford County Commissioners 2025 proposed budget. County Commissioners, Registry of Deeds, Medicaid costs, maintenance of the Justice Administration Building, Corchester Cafe Resource Agency, specifically UNH Cooperative Extension, Soil Conservation District, Coast Transportation, Meals on Wheels, Easter Seals, Homemakers, Home Health Services, interest on temporary loans, other accounts, which include the county convention, that's us. Employee appreciation, tuition assistance, contingency funds, and general health insurance for justice and administration and Riverside Rest Home. And we'll also be reviewing the capital expenditure items. So so the first item on our agenda is the pledge allegiance to the flag, which is right over here.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then a moment of silence. So last one we're here for a couple of hours. So all those who passed or otherwise suffered a loss. Okay. It's now, or we'll call the roll, or should I call the roll?
It's up to you.
Okay,
Here,
okay, Representative Bixby? We don't know where he
I
is.
just checked my email and he hasn't answered yet.
Usually he's here. Representative Kaczynski?
Here.
Representative Miller?
Here.
Yeah. Representative Pearson?
Here.
Good. Representative Wade?
Here.
Representative Walker?
Present.
The chair is here, and we have actually it's like three members of the delegation who are on the committee. We have Chairman Howland. Actually, Vice Chairman LaMontagne is on my list, but she's not here. But Liz Bay is here. So and we have several other individual Administrator Bowers is here, of course, and several people who are probably here to present those. So we'll and we have a quorum. So and we'll jump right into start with the resource agencies, the first of which is Meals on Wheels. So whatever, I guess you've been waiting here patiently to tell us about Meals on Wheels.
Good. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Cordova Brooks. I'm with Strafford Nutrition Meals on Wheels. We have requested $42,000 this year to assist with our meals distribution. So we are just an overview of Meals on Wheels. We provide meals, hot meals, to individuals 5 days a week. We distribute around the lunch hour. And it's a lot more than just providing a meal and making sure people are fed. It is definitely that. A lot of our clients, at least 1/3 of them say that they skip meals when they don't receive those meals. But it's a lot more than that. So we provide safety checks, wellness checks, some much needed socialization and interaction. Another about third of our participants report that they only ever see the driver throughout the week. Loneliness is an extreme epidemic that we're seeing in just all over the place. And it's especially prevalent in our homebound participants. A lot of them don't have family or friends that they see throughout the week, so it is really important that they get that interaction every day. That plays a significant role in our health and well-being. The vast majority of our participants report that they feel safer at home, knowing that we're there to check on them. They report that they feel just good overall about the services that they receive, that they are able to remain independent in their homes longer because of the meals that they receive. And that is our ultimate end goal, to make sure that people are able to stay independent in their home, without having to move on to nursing homes and such. Last year in Strafford County, we provided around 144,000 meals to roughly 1,400 participants throughout the year. On a daily basis, we provide about 500 individuals with meals. And this request, it would help supplement about 40,000 of those meals. So that's pretty much all I have. I just wanted to give a general overview of the organization, what we do, and why it's so important. And if anybody has any questions.
Thanks. Yeah, first of all. Oh, yeah.
Just one statement on behalf of the commissioners is that we feel strongly in support of Meals on Wheels. We certainly agree 100% that this helps keep people out of nursing homes. Not only the fact that of the nutrition, but second, the companionship and checking on people if they're hurt, if they fall, if something occurs, or if there's just a general change in their condition. Meals on Wheels can report that to the appropriate person.
And as you said, a lot of individuals, it keeps them out of the nursing home, even just that little thing of having one person coming by once a day, like, makes a big difference in their ability to stay in their home as opposed to.
Yes, and I did want to go off in that we actually do, our drivers see the same people every day. So if they do notice, Sally's been slower to get to the door, or I notice her mood really dropping, that we can kind of get in contact with those emergency contacts and just check in.
And I think you stated your name at the outset for just a record. What was your name and your?
Katie Cordova Brooks, I'm the
Okay.
executive director of Meals on Wheels.
Okay. You're the same, you're the same person who signed the report, so good, thanks.
Yes.
Welcome, okay.
Thank you.
Like, go through Howland.
I just have a logistic, where do the meals come from? Do you guys have like a commercial kitchen and do you make the meals or?
We have a caterer.
Okay,
Yes, we weigh out the cost effectiveness of having our own kitchen versus having a caterer. It is way more cost effective for us at this time to have a caterer that does it for us. We're really lucky to have the caterer that we do because they provide the hot meals. A lot of other programs have a caterer that only provides frozen, and I don't hear the best things about those. So I think we're really lucky to have that caterer.
Reverend Kaziski.
Thank you. When I'm looking at this balance sheet, looks like you guys are sitting on over $1 million between, I see certificates of deposit, money market account, and cash.
We do have a big reserve fund. Our board has designated about 800,000 as reserves. And that's for the event that the federal budget doesn't come through and we lose funding. It actually happened to us recently that some of our NISA funds we just didn't get it. So we had to pull from that to help pay for those meals and pay for our staff to get those out. In addition to that, we are looking at making some big investments in our systems to improve the way that we operate and be a little bit more efficient. So I'm looking at implementing a better cybersecurity system, which is, I don't know if you guys have looked at those numbers before, but they're pretty significant. I am implementing a new client tracking software, which again, getting those all started and upright is significant. So I'm aware that there's definitely some money to spend, but it is stuff that we do need to get done.
Follow up.
Follow, sure. Jim.
So, I mean, it looks like the expenses aren't all that high, but this is a tremendous amount of money. I mean, I'm in business myself. I don't quite have that much in my reserve. It's unbelievable to come here for 42,000, sitting on $1 million. And then is this equity, this you have an undesignated fund balance in addition to this cash?
Yes.
So that's 267.
Yes, and that, like I said, that is something that I inherited and I am working on currently to make plans to spend those funds. Because I believe that we should be operating on a reasonable budget. But like I said, that is money that's a big portion of it is designated by the board. In addition to that, we are making some serious structural changes to spend out a little bit more. Like I said, some of those client tracking softwares, volunteer tracking softwares, some infrastructure changes that are big expenditures. And they're not just one time, it's ongoing. So that's gonna be a big portion that's added to our monthly budget. Ongoing.
Okay. Follow up, Griff.
Last question, then. Appears to me you don't really need the $42,000. If you want to spend, you could grab it out of the reserves. There's some significant reserves here.
Not question.
That's not really, well, probably a question, but I guess, okay. You can do. Well, okay, yeah, that's your opinion. Yeah, I guess, would you believe, but
It's
I don't know.
pretty much fact. It's correct.
Well, the question I have is just explain these operating revenue. We've got EAS congregate Title 3C and then BS home delivered Title 3C and Title 20 and then CFI. So what are those? And also Title 3C and Title 20, are those funds? Obviously, it's only been like 2 or 3 weeks since everything changed, but like, are those funds something that will still be flowing in, like?
It's
After the
really
changes that happened.
unsure what the amount is. They're still coming, definitely. There's some that are a lot more volatile.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, the NISP one is one that's a lot more volatile. The CFI one is actually a lot more volatile as well. We are seeing some other agencies come in with the state to do similar services. Not as well, but they are coming in, and so we are seeing some changes in those as well. In addition,
Well, that was.
we are, it's really unsure right now what the designated amount is going to be for each agency under those specific categories, as of next year. We're still planning on getting some, but I have to prepare for that it's gonna be less. So.
Yeah, all right, thanks. I personally don't fault you for at least having some, reserve, so not everything has to operate on, like, you don't necessarily have to operate right on the edge all the time, so that's, I mean, and you're.
For the event that this happens with the federal government, it's nice to have.
Yeah.
A little one.
And if you spent down all your reserves, we stop paying the 42,000, that's, 24 years, that money would eventually, that would 24 times 42 is $1 million, so eventually it would go away. So that, anyway, so that, you think there are any more questions? I guess I'll, thank you for your time and, keep delivering those meals, so that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Time.
Now we're right in time for, Easter seals.
Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Sue Silsby. I'm the Executive Vice President at Easter Seals, where I've been employed for the last 36 years.
What's the name again?
Sue, last name is Silsby. It's a lot of S's. S-I-L-S-B-Y. Yeah, so I've been at Eastern Sales for 36 years, and first want to thank you for your continued support of our services. Thanks to your generosity, we've continued to have a strong presence in Strafford County, providing community-based services that support older adults to live in their communities and age at home. Our services included an adult day program, in-home services such as homemaker, personal care services, nursing, and supported housing. Last year, we opened up Champlain Place, just over a year ago in January of 2024. It's at full capacity with 72 residents, and we currently have a wait list. We provided on-site care coordination, focused on the social determinants of health, connecting people to critical resources and developing social opportunities for the residents that live there. Many of these residents also receive home care or attend the adult day program so that they can continue to live in an independently. We're actively working on the renovations of the Champlain House so that we can get our adult day program is temporarily rehoused due to a flood. And we're working on that, making that building accessible, so that we can relocate back into that space in the coming year. Last year, we served almost 1,100 adults, older adults across New Hampshire, with 31% of those adults living in Strafford County. So it's about 30% of our business is here in Strafford County for older adults. We serve residents in 11 towns within Strafford County. And the majority of the people that we serve are low income and receive funding through the Medicaid waiver or Older American Act funds, which these rates just don't fully cover the cost of providing services and require philanthropic funding to achieve financial sustainability. We continue to utilize evidence-based interventions and focus on the impact of our program. Some of the outcomes from our adult day program include 80% reduction in loneliness. The speaker before me talked about the loneliness epidemic, and it's really very real. And so, our adult day is geared toward helping people make connections with others and reduce their symptoms of loneliness. 85% report a reduction in the presence of depression. 82 demonstrate either cognitive stability or improvement, and 73% report reduction in falls risks. Not only are these services valuable for the individual served, but also their caregivers. It plays a vital role in their ability to keep people in their home, provides them a necessary break so that they can attend to other responsibilities, self-care, and minimize caregiver fatigue, which allows people to remain in place longer. We're continuing to tackle workforce. It's very challenging post-COVID. We've provided wage enhancements for our frontline workers. And we received 2 workforce grants from DHHS that help provide resources for recruitment and retention. We have improved the professional development provided to the frontline workers. And these efforts have resulted in us hiring 74 home care workers over the last year, which is a 200% increase over the year before, which is amazing. I know 74 people doesn't seem like it, but 74 people that do home care is a lot of service down in the community. And in addition, Easter Sales provides a lot of other services in Strafford County, including services for members of the military and veterans, waiver services for individuals with developmental disabilities and acquired brain injuries, clinical counseling, and youth transition services. We're requesting $80,000 to continue the support of community-based services provided to older adults in Strafford County who are low income, whose cost of services is fully reimbursable through insurance or other funding streams. It's our desire to continue a 40-year history of providing critical services that allow older adults to live, learn, work, and play in their community in a safe and dignified manner while minimizing unnecessary emergency room visits or premature nursing home placements. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess I'll ask the first question.
Yeah.
Well, the first one, you're asking us for 80,000, which is the same as you asked
Yes.
last year. You've only spent half of it so far. Is there, in the quarter? Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just a billing issue. They bill us quarterly, so
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
if the third quarter bill doesn't come in till the beginning of the fourth quarter, then it will
Yeah,
bill underspent.
And then we, and So I guess 31% of your clients are in Strafford County and the total budget is 5 million and 22,147, that's basically 5 million. So basically we're kicking in 80,000 towards 1.5 million services you're providing here in Strafford County. Is that a fair summary or?
It sounds about right,
Good.
without having the numbers right in front of me.
Thanks, so.
To clarify, the updated through Q4 budget does show it fully spent.
Oh, thank you.
I was gonna say, I was surprised to hear
Yeah,
that.
you got money left.
I was like, oh.
Thank you.
The first set of the budgets was turned into Q3, but we do have the.
Sorry I missed that one.
That's okay.
Chairman Howland?
I just have a question, because I've never heard of, I'm sorry for my ignorance.
No,
but,
no, it's okay.
Where is Champlin House?
It's over by the airport.
Okay.
And so, do you know where the Champlin Place is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so
You need to get up and Rochester.
I need to get up to, I'm sorry, I'm expressing my ignorance.
if you go by, you know where the airport is?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
so it's right past the airport on the other side of the road.
I'll
Yeah,
have to come visit.
yeah, you definitely should. That it was brand new construction and it's 65 units of housing
Very,
for
very nice facility.
older adults. It's
First
really
class.
beautiful.
Representative Kaczynski.
Yeah, would Easter Seals be considered an NGO, non-governmental
Yes.
organization?
Yes,
And it
or a
gets,
private nonprofit.
that gets, what, 80% of its funding from the government?
Most of our services are billed for to people on Medicaid, so we bill a lot of like Medicaid waiver services.
I guess I'll let you
So-
follow.
It looks like you guys have a pretty good amount of assets there
Yeah,
compared to liabilities.
we do. And, one of the things that we're looking at is fiscal sustainability as an organization. So we have about 12 different business lines, and some are more profitable than others. And we need to reinvest in some of those that are more profitable versus having some of the more profitable ones offset. Some of the other things. And, we have a lot of facilities improvements that we need to do, which we're working on.
I thought you were a nonprofit.
We are.
I heard profitable.
Well, some programs make money and some programs lose money. The older adults program is one that loses money.
Yeah. Many nonprofits that work in the county and the state, because that was just they provided more efficiently than doing it in the government. So that's, you're one of them. That's not very unusual there. And that, of course, is a whole model. I mean, that's the whole question. Like, should the county government be doing all this itself? And probably better that. That's the way we're doing things. And it's probably, in my opinion, probably better to have, organizations like yours, providing some of these services. So, Reverend Howling, like you had another question?
No questions.
Okay. I guess technically you are an NGO. I should think an NGO more like something like, I don't know, the Ford Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or something like that. I guess it's just an NGO. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, we do have the consolidated financial statements from
Yeah.
years ending 22 and 23.
Yeah.
Not obviously not 24 because of the timing on that. Would you say that the numbers are relatively similar overall? Like, did your budget change dramatically in expenses or anything last year versus the year before?
No.
Close enough that we can work with that.
Pretty simple, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just a follow-up. I mean, do you anticipate any problems with the federal funding that you've been relying on, whether the program?
We sure hope not. I know our president, CEO, have been in contact with the delegation. I think it's uncertain, but we certainly hope not.
Okay, thanks. Your time then. So,
Thank you very much.
for the next one, which I believe is the Soil Conservation District.
All right, right on that. Elena, I'm the manager of the Conservation District. Have some information. So,
Oh,
Back,
thank
I
you.
missed you last year, so I guess you weren't here last year. This year, part of it.
yeah, 2 years ago, I was
Okay.
on maternity leave. Yep.
Okay. Oh, now the kid is 2 years old. So.
Yep.
Well,
Um,
I don't know if I ever grew out of my terrible views, but that's just me. Anyway, good luck. Congratulations.
yeah, so would you like me to just start by talking a little bit about the district
Absolutely,
and
yes.
what we have going on? Sure. Okay, so, if any of you are not familiar, the Conservation District is run by a board of volunteer supervisors who live in the county. We've been around since 1946. We're a subdivision of the state government, but not funded by the state. We help landowners and farmers address conservation issues. A lot of our services and projects focus on improving water quality in the Great Bay watershed by helping farmers reduce the runoff of nutrients and sediment, as well as improving the health of soil on farms and other land. And we do lots of other things like helping people create pollinator habitat and dealing with invasive plants and all sorts of things. We rent out specialty conservation equipment at a low cost to help people with these goals. Our rental program started in 2012 with a wood ash and lime spreader. And as of this year, 2025, we have 15 pieces of equipment that you can read about in the black booklet that I handed around. We're hopefully gonna have lots of events this year, workshops and demos, to show people our new equipment and get the word out. We have an annual spring plant sale where we sell low-cost trees, shrubs, fruit trees, perennial flowers, seed mixes, and other things. And this helps landowners create habitat for pollinators, songbirds, other wildlife, control erosion, and grow food in their backyards. This year, we started taking orders at the end of January, and we already have 137 orders and $10,000 in sales. The order deadline isn't until April 5th, if anybody needs plants. It's looking like we'll have a pretty big sale this year compared to past years. Well, that's exciting. We apply for state, federal, and private grants to implement projects. So one example of that is in Milton, there was a culvert for a perennial stream under a town road that was identified in a survey as being at an extremely high risk of washing out in a storm event because the culvert was completely collapsed. So we worked with the town of Milton and Trout Unlimited to get a few grants to cover the construction of a new culvert. So this past year, we got that done, and during construction, we found out that there actually was no culvert there at all. The stream was just kind of working its way through the rocks and soil under the road, so that was not a good situation, and we all feel pretty good about fixing that. So now there's a sufficiently sized culvert there that can handle storms and allow aquatic organisms to pass through. It's potentially a good trout habitat, so that's why Trout Unlimited got involved, and we're gonna monitor it in the future, see if they show up. So for this project, we got a $95,000 grant from the New Hampshire DES Aquatic Resource Mitigation Fund. $25,000 from the New Hampshire Moose Plate Conservation Grant Program, and $10,000 from the New Hampshire Charitable Fund. Most of our grant projects like that, we spend all of the money that we get from these grant sources directly on the project. Conservation grants rarely include money for overhead and staff time and that kind of thing. So for that one, we spent every last dime on the culvert. We work with all the other New Hampshire conservation districts to offer a small grant program to farmers called the Climate Resilience Grant. Farms can apply for funds to implement projects on their farm for things like irrigation, pest control, energy efficiency upgrades, and soil health practices. We've been doing that for 3 years, and we're really excited about it because we don't often have the opportunity to financially assist farmers with things like this, and we're excited to be able to do that. And that grant is at this point entirely privately funded. Those are all the highlights of exciting things going on this year. I handed out last year's annual report. The 2024 one wasn't quite ready for today, but that gives you a good summary of all the different things that we do. And I am happy to answer whatever questions you have.
Councilman Bixby.
Yes, so just to be clear, your ask of the county is essentially what it takes to have office staff to do all the work that in terms of getting grants and evaluating grants. So basically what we're paying, what we as a county is paying for is the work to make it possible for you to then go out and find the other money that's used on projects.
I would say so. It gives us the stability and continuity to get all these grants. There are funders that really like our rental program, for example, and they want to know that we're going to be here running the rental program year after year. They don't want to give money to someone they're not sure if they're going to, go out of business next year and stop, running the program. So that stability and continuity is really important. This covering my staff time also allows me to help people with things like interpreting soil maps for their property and answering all kinds of different questions about conservation issues that really just wouldn't be funded by any particular grant. So yeah, the county funding kind of makes it so I can be here and we can pay our insurance and things like that. And I spend a chunk of my time trying to bring in funds and resources from other sources.
Representative Wade.
Yeah, so hi, thank you for sharing all of this. It's super interesting. I hadn't heard of it before. This is my first year. I had a question about the percentage for general management and administration. Because it was mentioned that the money that Strafford County contributes mainly goes to overhead or like administrative costs. But then it was listed as 10%, at least. So I'm just trying to understand how that's distributed.
Yeah, I'm not sure if maybe I didn't explain it clearly, but a big part of my salary is covered by the county funds, which I would not. I wouldn't categorize that as administrative since, a lot of time I'm doing all kinds of different things. Our administrative and overhead costs are not high, I wouldn't say, because we're small.
Gotcha.
I
just wasn't sure what administrative.
Yeah.
Was. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I have a question. I know we're newer administrative hours, but it looks, so you're occupying space here on the county complex. Are you paying rent directly, or we're just giving you the space credit? I mean, you mentioned you have to pay for your own equipment and utilities. So what's the arrangement there?
It's gratis.
Yeah.
We provide the space.
Yeah. And that's an exchange, of course, for all the services you provide to the county government itself and all the towns in the county. So thanks. Reverend Pearson. Yeah.
Do you know how many farms there are in the county?
That's a great question that we struggle to quantify because there's so many over the past several years, a lot of like small ones popping up here and there, and it's super hard to identify those people. I'll tell you that I have about 150 people on my agricultural mailing list, which is my best attempt to count all of those people.
Thank you.
There's probably more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Reverend Kaczynski has a question.
So you were touting this rental program. Is this right? It says rental income $420 for the year?
So, that is, the total for 2024 will be more than that because, at the time that I generated those reports, all of the rental uses weren't counted up yet. But I will say last year was like a little bit of a slow year for whatever reason, the weather, sometimes, and, farmers just aren't getting out on their fields to do these extra conservation practices. I guess the other part of that is that we don't charge a lot of money to use our equipment. So, yeah.
Is it?
But,
I have
Yeah.
a question about that before I let my ask follow up. So
yeah.
if I read that correctly, if you're in Strafford County, if you pay, they're renting it to farmers out of in other counties or possibly even in others, possibly even in Maine, but, so do the Strafford County farmers pay the same rental rate or no rental rate or a different one?
At this point in time, it's the same rental rate, but they get priority for scheduling.
Okay,
Yep, and then, we're working on providing, delivery for farms that can't come pick up the equipment themselves, and that will be obviously more expensive for
okay.
people who live
Get back
further
to
away.
Reverend Kaczynski here.
Yeah.
So these items that you rent, are these items that could be rented in the private sector also?
No, they're unique pieces of equipment that are not available to rent from, like a Taylor rental type place. They're really specifically for doing conservation practices, like reducing tillage on your farm, that kind of thing. Yeah, we try to obtain equipment that farmers don't have access to otherwise.
Reverend Kaczynski.
Yeah, so, my impression with the rental, machinery is that these are things that if you had a large farm, you might buy. But if you have a small farm, you're gonna use it once a year, and these items cost tens of thousands of dollars as a capital investment. So if your gross income on your farm is under, say, $25,000, which is typical for about 80% of our farms, then there's no way you could buy this. But
Yeah,
but having access to it once a year for a modest rental fee can greatly improve your handling of soil quality, and also farm profitability. And so it's a great service to the county. Would that be fair?
absolutely. Yeah. It also allows people to try something that they wouldn't otherwise. With no risk, to them really. But yeah, even big farms use our equipment because it is such a big expense and, for things that you might use once a year or less. So, yeah.
Okay, Reverend Miller.
Just a quick follow-up on the rent, again, on the rental. You said this year is a relatively low year for that income.
Yeah.
Two ways to think about that. One, is there like a sort of like rental days of pieces of equipment that were, I don't know that making that up as a statistic, but like the number of days equipment was out that we could have an idea of how well it's used, or prior years, like if this, the $420 here, whatever that number turns out to be at the end of year, is that 10% of the prior year? Is it 80% of the prior year? How off were we?
Sure, good question. Yeah.
Whatever way you think of to give us some more color about that.
Sure, okay, yeah, so.
Rich in the aviation industry, it knows all about machinery, but not so much machinery that's on the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't have any numbers in front of me, unfortunately, but, I would say past years, we would probably have around $2,000 of income, and that's around, it can be like 20 to 30, users.
Okay.
And it's increasing over time. We have a more diverse set of equipment now, so, and we're really doing a very big outreach push, so we're hoping for a lot more, yeah.
Yeah, so would weather conditions affect whether someone would be able to rent? So, if your fields are soggy, would that make you like less likely to rent something that's going to compact the soil if you run it across the field?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when we have like a really wet season, nobody's really using the equipment at all. And then the following year, there's a big demand for it. And then also, some of these things are integral to the farm's operations if they're depending on using the no-till seed drill, for example, for their cover crop that's important to them. But other things they might see as something extra that they're not going to do if the weather is impacting their farm in a catastrophic way. It's a lower priority for them to do the conservation practice. Yeah, when we have a long period of drought or a lot of rain, the equipment rentals are lower.
And,
Yeah.
Am I correct in remembering that last spring was pretty soggy?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because now all the years are starting to blend
Last
together. But
spring was
I think-
very wet, and then like July, we hit a drought.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
step change. We didn't have any
Yeah.
we didn't have any even flow.
yeah.
Yeah, the past few years it's been hard. But yeah.
Just one more quick
Yes.
follow-up.
Sure.
On the grants numbers anticipated for this year, massively lower than 2024. Does that just mean we don't buy a new piece of equipment and we work on the ones we have? Do I understand that the grant money goes to investing in new hardware, or is it otherwise affecting what the operation is for the organization?
Yeah, so our grant income each year does fluctuate. This past year we got two really big, unusually big
lumber
grants
thing, right?
for us. Yeah. And then this year we still have tons of work that we're doing. One of the grants was for buying new equipment, so obviously I'll be really busy with that, even though the grant income is counted as a 2024 income. So yeah, I'll be looking at putting in some new grant applications this year that will be income for 2026 most likely. So yeah, it does go up and down quite a bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't see any more questions. I guess I'll let you go back across the street and get back to work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
And next up is the cooperative extension, which is actually the UNH cooperative extension.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
All right, I'm Caitlin Wallach. I'm here today with UNH Cooperative Extension in Strafford County. Cooperative extension, every land grant university in the country has a cooperative extension. UNH is our land grant university. We are the outreach and education branch of the university. So every county in New Hampshire has a cooperative extension. Our goal is to bring some of what's happening at the university to benefit the entire state. So our office is located in Dover. We have 5 staff who work directly in the Strafford County office. We have 5 teams of cooperative extension. There are food and agriculture team, natural resources, 4-H and youth development, health and well-being, and then finally our community and economic development team. In Strafford County, you have myself. I am a part of the 4-H team. I'm the 4-H program manager for Strafford County. We have a food and agriculture educator who his specialty is with greenhouses and working with those businesses across the county and state. We have a natural resources person who is our forester. One of our biggest natural resources in New Hampshire are our forests in the timber industry. We have a health and well-being staff member. We have administrative assistant, and that is our county office. While you have the staff that is directly in the county, the way that our structure of how we finance our program is it's about 35% funded by the county. The rest is coming from our state and federal funds through the university. So as well as getting your county staff who are physically in Strafford County, you also get the benefit of then having the resources of our staff who are located on campus, and then some of our specialists who are dispersed throughout the state. the way that that works is that we kind of have our areas of expertise, and then that way, if there's a specific problem or need in Strafford County, we can call and have some extra hands to help with that as well. As well as having the extra resources from the state. We also, a large portion of our program is utilizing volunteers in all of our programs as well. So some of those programs that you might know of are our Master Gardener program. So they work with different gardening projects across the county. They also help man our home yard and garden info line. So all homeowners, whatever size your garden may be, or just general questions about managing your properties can be answered there. We also have our lakeside monitoring that work with the lakes in New Hampshire. We have Nature Groupie, which is a whole stewardship project and looking to maintain and beautify our trails and natural resources. We have also 4-H is supported by our volunteers as well. And so all of these programs, there's over 700 volunteers that we have in Strafford County that help really make our impact greater as well. This year, we are asking for 683,000. This includes a standard increase of about 3% for cost of living from last year's ask. This goes into directly supporting portions of those direct member staffs and office operations. While we are located in Dover, every single town in Strafford County receives services from Cooperative Extension. Yeah.
And you get money from UNH, of course, they're planning to cut their budget back and they're not getting more money from the state, but also what are the federal programs? So like, how are those two funding sources can be affected by like what's
Correct.
going on with universities that demand the federal government?
Yes, some of that, we are still kind of waiting to see what some of those impacts may be. I know from our extension standpoint that our dollars match that we do for the county funded portions are a priority of our of extension to maintain those. And then there are, some areas that are being evaluated of where we can kind of fit that margin a little better as well. So.
And with the cost of living, that's because I guess all the employees are like part of the UNH personnel system. So they're probably, so they're probably gonna get a cost of living from that. And I guess, and are you struggling with retaining these employees? Like if you didn't give the cost of living, you can walk out the door and go somewhere else?
There is that piece of trying to, maintain employees, but I will say like we are, fully staffed and that hasn't been an issue of contention. We, tend to really hold on to our staff fairly well.
Yeah. Helps be part of UNH. It's better where they have good benefits. I know.
Yes. Yeah.
Representative Bixby.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but in terms of the budgeting for the cost that you're asking for the county, that's not something you do in your office. That's something that's done in the central office of extension at UNH. And basically they do the same thing for every county. So there's a sort of it's a formula that just gets applied across the entire state. And you're just presenting your small part of it that you get handed from your office, your central office.
Yep, correct. And some counties do have a few more staff than Strafford County does, but that same formula is applied and it's that same percentage rate that goes across for each county's.
And just a sort of an example of how that sharing of specialists might work. And so Jonathan Ebba is our food and agriculture person, and he's a greenhouse specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So he might go to do some work with Pleasant View Nurseries, which is in Merrimack County. But there are also specialists in Merrimack County, and I don't know them off the top of my head, who might and work on projects in Strafford County that they're more specialized in.
Correct. Like, so for example, one county, we have a forage specialist. So if there are farms that have dairy cows, we traditionally had a few dairy farms in Strafford County. They will have that specialist help them manage their grasses on their property and can help evaluate that for them so that they can have best practice and have the most nutrition for their animals on their land. And so there's a whole slew of specialists across the state. And yeah, basically anything that is related to food and agriculture, we probably have someone there that can best address your issue. And they might be located out of the county, but part of that allocation allows that we can get that support for your county, whether they are located in there or not.
Well, Reverend Kaczynski.
Yeah, somebody's request we heard already today had, administrative costs probably around 10 or 11%. And I'm looking here, it's, your cost is 30%. Can you tell me why that would be so high?
So, actually, the way that our positions are funded, since our administrative assistant in the county only works for Strafford County, that position we do fully fund by the county funds, whereas the remainder of our positions in the county, do get some of that supplemental funding from the state and federal funds. So that's why it's a little disproportionately higher, is because their position is actually, fully funded by the county because they are fully county support.
Okay, Representative Pearson.
Unrelated to all of this, I'm relatively new to New Hampshire. Do you guys run an annual 4-H fair?
We do, yes.
When is it?
So it will be this year, July 19th. We do it out of Stratham Hill Park. So in Stratham there, and that's the first one of the year. And then we have 4-H fairs all over the state for the remainder of the year, following with our last one
Different
is in
counties.
Sandwich. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Great.
And I think that schedule's out now, so you can find it on the New Hampshire Fair
I would love
website.
That's your specialty, right?
That is mine, yes. Any questions, I'm happy to field.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Granite Hill Park is a beautiful facility, even if it is in Rockingham County.
Yes, they do have wonderful 4-H grounds for us to show all of our animals out. It's really nice.
Thank you, great, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Got your handouts, you haven't handed out. We've got a stack of publications.
He's got a question.
Yeah, well, Representative Walker has a question.
Yes, you get most of your funding through grants, correct?
Yes and no. Some of it comes from the university, some do come from grants.
My next thing is how much of the funding comes from the UNH itself?
It's probably about half of, I don't have the exact number on me. I'm not.
I'm talking
privy to
percent.
that
I'm
breakdown,
talking
but about
percent.
about half of that, 65%.
Follow up to that, isn't, a lot of what you do in NH is part of their educational and research missions too. Is that true? Is that fair
Yes.
to say? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So I just,
Or Pittsburgh.
just getting back to the, you know, where the essentially work comes from in the county in extension. You passed over this sort of quickly and sort of saying we have like 700 volunteers in the county.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to bring out, you know, that is an awful lot of labor that is being leveraged by a relatively small, like 4 people in the office or 4.5 people in the office.
4.75 technically, yes. Yeah, so, and it equates to about, if we were to put those volunteers' hours, it's about 16,500 hours that they contribute to programs and other extra outreach and education throughout the year, so, and.
Reverend Kaczynski's got another question.
Would I be correct in saying that hours divided by the amount of people is about 2 point something hours a person?
Probably, yeah, there's some that would be less, and then like, you know, who are our volunteers who help with one event every year, and then there's our volunteers who are contributing extra. That's also a very deflated number for probably the amount of hours that our volunteers are contributing. This is what they're self-reporting. We don't get the report sheet from every single volunteer exactly, so I would feel confident in saying that it is probably significantly higher than what actually gets reported on.
Thanks. I guess Coast is next. Is somebody from Coast waiting? Brad or somebody waiting to talk to us.
And if anyone does want to see more, I do have, yes.
Oh, yeah,
You said
I
you were
see
new to New Hampshire. This is
I
actually
am.
designed for folks who are new to New
Ah,
Hampshire. And I can stack over here in case it works for me.
Very good.
Yes,
You guys have a cooperative extension newsletter also.
we do,
That
yeah.
comes out, so you may want to send that to the delegation so you can subscribe, because it really gives you a better picture of the programs and the offerings that are coming out.
Yep, great, I will. I will make sure that we get that sent out. I'll put these out in the
Oh, you can do
lobby.
that, thanks,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
If we can take a brief break here, because, usually Brad Nichols from Coast he's next on the schedule, he's not here yet, we could also, if he doesn't,
Like 19 minutes early, so.
oh, we're 19 minutes early, so we'll take a brief 5 to 10 minute break, and then we can also get started on the administration parts and the registry of deeds anyway, so. Enjoy some of the refreshments.
I apologize.
Actually, we were ahead of schedule, and actually.
Great.
I apologize if you're not, you need a couple of minutes to just sit down and get ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know.
Well, good morning. I'm Brad Nichols. I'm the Executive Director at Coast. For those of you who haven't seen me before, great to see you. For those who I've seen over the years, great to see you as well.
Yes.
Coast is your regional public transit agency. And we've been serving the region for 42 plus years. It'll be 43 years here this spring. We had a tremendous year last year.
Oh, yes, I guess we started at the Zoom, but somebody is muted, but
No, it's,
telling us we're muted, don't you?
we're not, though.
Okay, great.
There you go.
Thanks.
We had a tremendous year last year. Ridership overall was up almost 29% across the system. And we saw riders flocking back as we got out from underneath a number of temporary service suspensions that had been sort of rolling since the pandemic.
Yeah.
That was because we were able to finally get staffed up. As we were able to improve our pay rates to the point that was no longer an issue as we were trying to hire. And that was one of our major goals was to get back to full staffing as well as to increase ridership. We rely heavily on the government for our funding. While we are a nonprofit, we rely primarily on the federal government and our county and our municipalities for our funding. This year is the first year that we will receive an increase from the state of New Hampshire. We'll receive almost $390,000 from the state of New Hampshire. That's a significant increase from the $32,000 we received last year.
Wow.
Which was more the norm in the last 5 or 6 years. We have a tremendous economic impact. Back in 2021, the Rockingham Planning Commission and the Strafford Regional Planning Commission looked at the economic impact of our operations. It was determined that the return on investment is approximately $4.08 for every dollar invested in Coast. And those are regional dollars. Those are dollars that trickle through the regional economy. And so this year with the budget we're working under, it's estimated that we'll have a $33 million impact on the region as a result of our operations. We employ just about 70 people overall. Last year, with that 28.5% increase, we carried 373,940 riders. And in terms of where we are compared to pre-pandemic, we're at about 95% of our pre-pandemic ridership as of today. On
fixed route system. And then on our demand response services, so these are services for older adults or individuals living with disabilities. On those services, we're well over 110% of where we were pre-pandemic. The services that you help fund here at the county are Route 33, which starts in downtown Dover at the train station, runs out 6th Street, and then and through some of the industrial areas off of 6th Street, and then here to the county complex, and the ADA paratransit services that complement that fixed route. So we under the ADA, we have to provide complimentary paratransit service to anybody who qualifies as a result of their disability within 3/4 of a mile of the bus route on either side, so 1.5 mile quarter. So those are the two primary services you fund, as well as supporting the regional coordination effort in the county. So on page 9, I give you an overview of the fixed route services. You support Route 33. Last year, we carried 24,261 riders on that service. That was a 44.4% increase from the year before. Fantastic year on Route 33. Actually a record year on Route 33. So that route has hourly frequencies between 6:15 in the morning and 8 p.m. at night. There's 1 hour that is skipped, and that's around 8 in the morning, after 8 in the morning. Runs Monday through Friday between the county complex and downtown. On Saturdays, it stays more in town and does not come all the way out here to the county complex. Offers timely connections and transfers in downtown at the train station for the rest of the coast system, Wildcat Transit, and the Downeaster. Fare is $1.50 to ride, 75 cents if you qualify due to age or disability. And we do have free transfers now on the system, at least one, not at least, one over the course of your trip. Year to date in fiscal year 25, so our fiscal year starts on October 1. We're up 14% on our ridership for the year. So continuing to see nice growth. Maybe not quite the same as last year, but 14% is nothing to sniff at. On the complimentary ADA paratransit service side, we carried 2,329 riders that we associate with Route 33 because of where the corridor is. And last year, again, these services are provided to individuals who can't otherwise use the fixed route service because of their disability, age, or disability. Service is available to all origins and destinations within a 1.5 mile corridor of the route. And there is no, during comparable days and times, there are no, what do I want to say, restrictions on trip purpose, just like on the fixed route. And the service is provided in accessible minivans or minibuses. The fare to ride that is twice the equivalent fare of what you would pay to ride on the fixed route system. On page 11, I touch on ACT and TripLink. So Coast serves as a lead agency for regional transportation coordination and consolidation, and serves as the regional coordination council for Region 10, which is the greater Seacoast area. Last year, we served 15% more individuals, 11% more rides were taken, and folks through ACT were able to live more connected and better lives. And you can see some of the statistics of ACT there on the right of the slide. We connect people and communities. And I would say one of the areas where we really have a large impact is connecting housing, jobs, and services. And particularly as housing has become less affordable, folks have had to move further away from our economic centers, and the costs of transportation have become a new burden for them. Transportation is the second largest household expense. housing is the only one that's higher than that. And we offer a way for folks to manage that transportation expense through the provision of our services, which allow them an affordable way to move around. We certainly support seniors with our services. We're the second oldest state in the country. And many seniors use our services to remain independent for as long as they can in their communities and active in their communities. We have a film crew actually taking a bunch of seniors from Berwick out on Route 1 this week to do a shoot, so Berwick TV can show seniors in town how they can move around. And we connect our social service network. We have a vibrant social service network here in the Seacoast. And Coast is a really key player in helping individuals access those services and get the help that they need through those services. In terms of our request this year, we are asking for $88,656. $80,656 that is associated with our Route 33 and ADA paratransit services, and 8,000 is relative to supporting our work with the Alliance for Community Transportation and the regional coordination efforts. Overall, combined, this represents an 11.1% increase over last year.
Okay, thank you very much. And you mentioned about the social services. A lot of them, as I recall from past meetings, a lot of them are actually provided here at the county complex, and also there's also a population of people who need to go back and forth for things, and let's think that maybe aren't exactly social services here at the complex.
Right, and work. Last I knew, we were carrying people to work.
Yeah. Absolutely. Representative Miller?
A couple questions, so I'm gonna cheat and just do it, instead of asking each time. One, fare payment on board, is that cash only?
Currently it's cash. Well, so you have a couple of options. You can pay by cash.
Okay,
You can pre-buy tickets. We sell them in 15 ticket bundles for a small discount, or you can buy a monthly pass.
okay,
We are moving in the direction of going to an electronic fare payment system. Hopefully we will be able to implement that within the next year.
okay. I just, thought about it, but never actually been able to figure out how to use the bus, so it's it's a real, it's a thing, I'm much better at doing it when I travel other places in the world, so I bother to figure out how to do it instead of in my hometown. Second quick follow-up on 33 is still, the route map still shows going in through Liberty Mutual site. Do they still have people there? Does anyone actually get on or off there? Is there a reason the bus still goes in there?
So we only go there on demand.
Okay.
And we don't have any demand.
Okay, I say the map shows it, right?
It does show
Okay,
it,
but
yes.
you don't actually
Yep.
do that drive. Good.
Right.
Last question, actually probably relative to the budget. In the document you shared, there's a purchased transit line item that is significantly, it's $228,000. Are we shifting some of our expense towards third-party providers of bus service as opposed to direct operations?
So that's under ACT. So the ACT
okay.
budget so this is the regional transportation coordination effort.
Okay,
We do pass through funds from the federal government to New Hampshire DOT to Coast to organizations like Community Action Partners of Strafford County, like Ready Rides, which is a volunteer driver program out of the area, as well as Meals on Wheels of Rockingham County. And that's what those dollars represent.
thank you. I completely misread this part, but thank you for that explanation.
Yeah, so, I know that this is probably more of a long-term goal, but, at least personally, my experience and what I've heard other people say is that one of the reasons they don't use, the bus services is the frequency. Of if a bus only comes around hourly and you just want to take the bus to go to the grocery store, you don't want to be standing around waiting there for an hour if you happen not to catch it on time. So to me, it's one of those things where obviously it's going to take more expenditures, but you could get ridership up a lot if people know they could rely on public transit to like regularly take them to all the places they want to go and that they wouldn't be stranded for a super long time. So is that something that Coast is focusing on, trying to make that more, on more frequent routes? Or like such shuttles
So-
within the city and that
so-
sort of thing?
Frequency in our business is king. We do not have the resources in New Hampshire, whether that be federal, state, or local,
Mhm.
to design a system that is based on, that is geared around maximizing ridership, which means high frequency. We just don't have those resources. So we've designed a system around coverage, which means more people can access it than not. We'd love to get to the point of being able to look at frequency. That is not the environment we're working in today.
So when you say resources, is that primarily just funding, or is there other aspects to that that make it difficult to have higher frequency in New Hampshire?
No, that's funding.
Gotcha.
I know if you travel to Boston or New York City, there's apps, they don't have their own app. I don't think the MBTA in Boston doesn't have their own app. There's several third-party apps and all the data is, real-time data is on Google Maps. So are you integrated with
We are.
services like that? Yeah.
Right, so our services are in Google Maps. We also have an app, to tell people where our buses are. Tell people what our schedules are, where our buses are in real time.
Okay, that's very helpful. That makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Because it's people.
I got a couple questions. I like numbers and I was wondering how you arrive at $1 spent equals 408 in the can you explain how you get at that number?
The planning commission's used a recognized, tool to assess those impacts. So it's our direct spending, it's our indirect spending, it's our, induced effects on spending, as well as the value of access provided, through our services, is how you come up with that
I
calculation.
mean, is it tied into the amount of economic activity, actual incomes from businesses?
The trickle down effect of our.
Just wondered how they come up with that. And, looking at this sheet here, it says interest and other income, 42,000. So where would that come from, that interest?
Most of that is, other income, which is the result of the sale of retired equipment in our fleet.
So you guys aren't like sitting on
We are,
a fund, a slush?
we are sitting on reserve.
Yeah.
We do have
Because I mean,
reserve.
to get 42,000, I'd estimate you'd have to have about $1 million to generate that 42,000 in interest roughly at this. Would that be correct?
We have, in reserves, we have, just over 3.2 million currently. That was built up as a result of, the emergency relief funding that we got from the federal government for COVID. We are, however, all that funding is gone, and we're currently operating, with an operating budget deficit projected for this year of around 350,000.
Yeah.
And that is a projection that will continue.
Where did all that money go? That's 3 million. Did you guys buy a bunch of buses or something?
We are in the process of buying buses. It hasn't gone. Those are reserve funds.
Oh, so it's not spent then.
No, it's not spent. I didn't say that. It's,
I thought you said it was gone.
no.
I
But
hear
we
it's
are operating with an
It's not being
operating
refilled.
budget deficit.
It's been.
So our reserves are used to support our capital program first, to meet our, ongoing, day-to-day, cash flow needs, and then to help, in the case of an operating budget deficit, we will use funds from that as well. We try to hold, our goal for our reserves is around 2.4 million. So we're a little higher than our goal, for what we want that number to be, just to protect against things like a government shutdown. So we could operate for 3 or 4 months without having to rely on the federal government if we were forced to do that. Those sorts of things.
Yeah. Seeing no more questions, so great to see you again, and thanks for your time, and keep the buses rolling, especially Route 33, so.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time this morning.
All right, thank you. I guess now we can move ahead to Commissioner Bauer to send. There are no other joint.
That's a pretty good amount to have in reserves. Well,
It seems.
this is taxpayer, this is all taxpayer.
Yeah. So I have a question that relates to our previous presentation. So you probably have a better, more, a better answer to it. What would be the impact of losing Route 33?
Well,
On the county?
it'd be a multiple
Doesn't make
impact.
sense to me, those.
One is it would probably significantly harm our drug court. A number of drug court sessions are supported by the bus route. The ladies and gentlemen who participate in the drug court, some 70 people, need to be here for drug court sessions. Also probation and parole, when you're signing in for probation and parole downstairs. Thirdly, we monitor, as of last Monday, I get statistics every Monday, 597 people in the community. Who probably 2/3 of which at least would be otherwise incarcerated in the jail, which would mean the jail would be already overfull.
Yeah.
So it provides transportation for those people that need to come out here to sign in and take drug testing.
Yeah.
Also, it provides, services for, I actually have 2 residents that, are capable of going out into the community. So they'll take the bus and take the bus back. For some reason, they miss the bus, they get the advantage of the transit that he was talking about. That Rand was talking about. Also, Southeastern New Hampshire Services, the drug and alcohol, who pays us rent, who's located in the Alms House building. A number of those ladies and gentlemen take the bus to work and get back from work on that bus. So, I guess I'm in a spot where I cajoled, I begged, I did everything to get the bus route out here a number of years ago. Because one of the biggest problems we found when we did like a survey of problems is the fact that the complex is located, a distance from downtown Dover as an example, or downtown Rochester, or downtown Somersworth. So this, Route 33, while it says it brings you to the downtown Dover, that simply means that that's where you can transfer to other bus routes that take you to Rochester or take you to Somersworth, or also our elderly housing complex that sits up on the hill that the county really doesn't have anything to do with, other than we donated the land. A number of people from that complex also use that for, grocery shopping and those types of things. And while I understand it's inconvenient that it goes by the hour, what a lot of our visitors who come and visit their spouses or significant others at Riverside have learned is to time it.
Yeah.
You know when you're getting here, and because the coast bus thing is all on Google Maps and everything else. You know when they're coming back, so you can head out to there's 2 bus stops here on the complex. You know, one here at the parking lot and the other, across the street kind of on the corner of County Farm Road and County Farm Cross Road. So those are the advantages. And it's impossible for us meaning the county, to anywhere near competitively provide that level of transportation. I mean, it would be ridiculous. Is there times when every once in a while we'll still need to jump in? Certainly, we take all our residents to all their doctor's appointments. There's no way of, our residents are capable of going to a doctor's appointment, briefing the doctor on what's going on. And so we transport to doctor's appointments. They can't take the bus or even the paratransit. That's not possible. We have to send an employee with them. But in terms of visitors and all those other things, a lot of our programs will be shut down without that transportation.
Okay.
And again, economically, you know, it's not possible for that service to be reproduced.
Okay. All right, thank you. We can move on to the commissioner's administration.
You'll see that it's gone up, but it's actually gone up less than what the delegation last year proposed the commissioner's salary to go up.
Yeah.
So everything else in the budget is actually gone down slightly. But I'd be happy to answer any questions on anything that's.
Any questions?
Numbers to have at that point.
The most simplified presentation.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would say that we're the only county and I say this all the time to the commissioners. And I'll say it here, we have one finance director and that's our finance department. And lose anybody in this county, don't lose her.
Yeah.
Because she can do everything. And we're a complicated finance situation because we're partially a cash operating business and we're partially an accrual operating business. You know, meaning the nursing homes on accrual base and most of the balance of the county's on a cash based system. And we have one older than me. No, not older than me. Nobody's older than me. But we have one accounting system that has been adapted to manage this the differences that we have. So, and as you can see, and as we've been saying, we have to get a new plaque. So 11 years in a row, we've been awarded by the Government Finance Officers Association excellence in our audit. So there's 10, but we need a new plaque to get the 11th button. We just were notified that our last year's audit received. So last I looked, we're only one of 8 to 10 governmental entities in New Hampshire that have received that award. And we're the only one that's received it that consistently.
Wait.
Yeah, so just first year, so can you explain the difference between like a cash and the accrual?
Sure, accrual is accounted for when you earn it, and a cash is basically based on when you received it. So let me give you a clear example, the easiest example.
Yeah.
When someone's admitted to the nursing home, and we almost exclusively take people who are going to be on Medicaid. You know, we look at their finances in advance of admission. It appears they've qualified. It could take the state 6 months to a year to determine their eligibility. And it's only gotten worse. In fact, there's a bill in the legislature now to encourage the state to do what's called a preemptive eligibility, because a number of nursing homes are going bankrupt because they're caring for people for, months and months and months. And
Not
they're
gonna get-
$800,000 behind in what's due to them from the state. And it's the state, well, that's another whole complicated subject that we'll actually get to later, but, so there's a bill, and you guys are looking at a bill, I'm not sure what committee, but you guys will be looking at a bill for, preemptive eligibility where we'll provide, or they'll provide things that it appears on its surface that they would be eligible, and then if they weren't, there'd be some form of repayment back from the nursing home that received them. Because being behind 6 and 9 months in millions of dollars worth of revenue is, just impossible to operate out there. And it's funny, my wife's and I night out in the winter is playing a cribbage tournament. The lady we played yesterday works for the state, and her entity is not long-term care, but her department is constantly pulled on to help long-term care because they have nobody works there. They all quit. Because it's such a pressure job, and so they get constant new people, and it takes months to train people because it's so complicated. And then it's, when they get trained, they just get burned out because everybody's calling and screaming at them because their families are anxious because their loved ones aren't getting approved. And they'll say, well, you need to send us this, and the families will say, I've sent it to you 5 times now, but it's different people each time. And so I'm sure you'll hear about it, if not this year, in the future, about the frustration of getting people onto the system. So we accrue that revenue. We pretend like we've earned it, but we haven't received the cash to back it up. Unlike, other parts of our operation, like rent, we'll get the rent from the state right away, when it's due for the courthouse and probation and parole who are in this building, and we're pretty good at collecting money from the feds at the jail.
It's kind of like an IOU.
Yeah, except it's an indefinite, longer term IOU.
It's not like you get it Tuesday to get the burger. It could be a lot longer.
Bill related to the immigration detention facilities, the good source of income from the county. Good point to segue into the Medicaid costs and.
Sure, well, actually, that was one of the things I said we talked about later. The Medicaid costs, we have no say, you said it. The legislature tells us what the amount of money, and then we pay our share every month. It's really not any more complicated than that. What I did see yesterday that causes me some concern is that we were, a number of the people who are on the committee in the state that determines the Medicaid cost, had been assuring us that the county's cost, because it's a tax, I mean, let's just be honest about it. It was gonna stay stable, but I understand, it's just the governor's budget, okay? But in the governor's budget, it had a 3% increase. So, 3% on, no big deal. Well, when you're talking 3% of $11 million, yeah, it is a big deal.
It's like the biggest line item.
It's the one biggest single line item in the county budget. So if anybody ever wants to know how to cut county taxes and you want to cut them by 25%, get the state to pay its own bills.
Yeah, so we're budgeting for.
I mean, appreciate the optimism there.
I say it tongue in cheek, I've said it for 40 years, because, we've contributed, or it's actually not we contributing, it's the county taxpayers contributing.
Yeah, and
So I guess it's we in the sense that.
We around the room.
Everybody around the room, including me
Okay,
and Diane.
recognize myself first, so it's 11,149,212, and that's. And I guess that's probably actually based on the budget we passed 2 years ago, so like,
That's correct.
so whatever happens, between now and June 30th, or whenever they wrap up the budget, which might not be at the end of June, you will.
It could change by that 3%, and really for that kind of money, we'd have to call a delegation
And
back.
that would kick in into.
Kick in July 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'd be paying, that extra 100, and I'm just doing the numbers in my head. 330, $170,000 extra between July and the end of the year.
Just a way of paying this out of the property taxes rather than.
Actually, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the tax.
That's about right, yeah.
Reverend Bixby.
Yeah, so do you happen to know if we're the only state that pays for Medicare out of local property tax?
Last I heard, okay, there was about 6 or 8 states. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't checked with the national, so we pay like $700 or $800 in dues to the National Association of Counties, who keeps this kind of statistic. But I haven't checked with them in the last few years.
Okay.
More questions? I guess we move on to the. I guess, I think that's, next thing, I guess, is the, Justice J&A maintenance.
It's gone down, about $7,000. Primarily it's gone down, because of electricity.
No.
Are we gonna skip register of deeds and just
Well,
keep
we
going?
can probably, works right around the corner.
No, I just. No, that's-
Yeah, by the time you get her, I'll finish this.
Yeah.
It's gone down about $7,000. We're. It includes the, maintenance personnel for this building, which right now is obviously a critical issue with everything we have going on in this building that the last delegation approved, finishing the rooftop units, putting on a new roof, which we've already gone out to bid and have, we've selected a vendor. Now we just need to select better weather.
Unfortunately, we failed to do, but.
Which we really have no control over. Obviously, we're not gonna shovel the snow off, only to, so that'll be a new roof and,
Okay, President Bixby.
Yeah, so I'm sort of looking through the increases and decreases, and it looks like the biggest decrease is in the cost of electricity.
yeah, I was gonna explain that.
Yeah.
We had gotten about 4 years ago a grant to, replace all the lighting, in the building, of which we needed to pay a portion of. The majority of it was paid for by public service, but we paid a portion. That portion, our payment's over now, so it's gone down a little bit.
Okay.
And the $10,000 increase, was that already mentioned in the food line?
In the which line? I'm sorry.
Food?
You're in the wrong section. We're on maintenance, not justice.
Okay.
Oh, I thought we were on.
We can move on to Courtchester now, to no more questions, but.
Oh, wait,
We can
sorry.
keep the cafe.
Oh,
on
that
before-
order in line.
before the good, my papers were all in order when I sat down for them. Nothing else. If you want to, I guess I'll.
But I'm happy to answer the food
Skip
question.
ahead
Oh,
to
you're
the
fine. Sorry.
Portchester Cafe.
Something got out of order.
Okay.
What?
Yeah,
You're
the,
talking about this before, Jessica?
the court,
Hang on, finish.
Oh.
Whatever the
Oh,
discussion was.
I'm sorry.
President Kaczynski.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, sir.
what's the total amount of, maintenance personnel you have here?
2 and floating. So there's 2 scheduled here. And we have licensed personnel at the nursing home. Like a licensed electrician, licensed plumber. So when we need those kinds of services, we float them over, but we have to charge. We have, because their primary payer or vendor source or payer source is the nursing home. If we do something outside the nursing home, we have to deduct that from its operation because we have to do a Medicaid cost report, and if they were working over here and we were charging it to Medicaid over there, we'd obviously be committing a fraud. I'm a classic example of that. My salary is based on 50 hours a week. And 40 hours is at the nursing home and 10 hours is for my county administrator piece of it. So when you see my salary at the nursing home, 20% of that salary is deducted before it's billed to Medicaid.
I was just wondering, because there was previous years, we had mentioned about doing in-house work here, repairs on the driveway or whatever, you know. I'm just kind of curious how many people were available doing that.
Well, the availability is really, if we have something major going on, I mean, the availability is pulling people from the nursing home. And as a classic example is plowing. If just to give you an example, not this last storm yesterday, but the one before, I plowed. The superintendent of the jail plowed. I mean, we each have plows on our own vehicles.
Did you bill Medicaid? for
Did
that?
you bill? Yeah.
No.
I'm wondering.
No, but the reason we did is because I had 4 people in maintenance that had a digestive flu type thing. So it's not that we don't have the vehicles, because you were kind enough to appropriate that last year. But I don't want to drive a county truck. I want to drive my own. I'm comfortable at driving my own vehicle.
Yeah.
So I plowed here at the courthouse, but where I also had 2 people from the nursing home that plowed over here at the courthouse. So that's an easy example. We filled crack sealing. I actually had a guy that used to do it for a living and now works at the nursing home. So he did all the driveway sealing here and at the nursing home. You know, so it's things like that.
I mean, I don't mean to answer your question, but I was in the nursing home presentation, so that's why the maintenance staff having a wide range of skills is super huge. Because then you can do stuff in-house, you just gotta do the paperwork that goes along with it.
That's right. We just have to keep track of that.
Yeah.
And deduct it off our cost report. We don't wanna Medicaid for us. And they do audit, they audit every year, a desk audit, and about every 6 years they're here. Every 5 years, they actually come here and do a, on the grounds audit, but they do audits every year.
One quickly,
They're a year or so behind, but they do.
one quickly cover the Corchester Cafe before we get to the registrar.
Sure, the easiest way is food's going up. I don't know what to tell you. I'll give you an example. I just bought 4 months worth of eggs. Because I knew what was coming. And eggs, if you process them correctly, you can freeze eggs. So I just bought 4 months worth of eggs. I got a real egg education from the state, so we because I know how much it's going up.
Yeah.
So the advantage of having the Corchester Cafe here is it breaks about even. Some years it makes a little money, some years it loses money. But it's a primary service to the court, which the court pays us $600,000 in rent. And it helps us keep them as a tenant, because if they have active jury trials, they can send the lunch menu down. And we can send the lunches back upstairs. And they can continue their deliberations. Some want to take a break. Some wanna, they wanna take a break and come down and eat. Some juries wanna the food to be shipped up to them so they can continue deliberations. We do whatever we want there's about, I just happen to know this because the subject came up the other day. There's about 45 jury trials a year.
They feed the grand juries or?
We feed the grand juries
Or
also.
anonymous, yeah.
Besides the actual trial juries, we feed the grand juries too.
And
As a small anecdote, my wife actually just served bizarrely on 2 trials with the same jury summons, which didn't know was possible, but came home and was telling me about the meal service and everything else.
I hope it was good.
What she actually, what she
don't if
actually,
it's
no,
bad,
it's
don't
the
say
same. I'm not sure I should say this on recording. What she actually said is she brought her own lunch and one of the other people wanted food also and had his and was like, I'm actually really hungry. Can I order your lunch also? So she ordered a second sandwich for someone else who seemed very happy with it. But
Good. That's good, I'm happy.
I mentioned that, because this came up also at the nursing home, especially because of eggs and the inflation of eggs has come up with avian flu.
Yeah.
A good alternative, I know it's gonna get pushed back, is that if you do a tofu scramble.
That's not the generation of my residents.
Anyway, I have a family member who served on the grand jury recently. She said the food was good, so.
Oh, good, I'm happy. Yeah,
Positive experience.
the tofu thing, I don't,
I give eggs away.
it just doesn't work, for my residents.
I'll point everyone.
I'm 90% confident that they don't even know what tofu is.
Anyway,
It's one molecule from plastic.
Oh, okay, all right,
It's a footnote.
there's another answer.
Footnote to sub-account, whatever, 90.250 mentions that they're raising the prices, so
We are raising our prices.
so they just set themselves, they have to get.
That's unacceptable.
Oh, and we're actually, if you look at the prices in area restaurants, we're pretty economical.
Yeah. Way below.
So,
Yeah.
it won't hurt us to raise the prices.
Yeah, so, speaking of that, I'm seeing on these sheets, the expenditures, but I'm not seeing revenues. Am I just missing something?
Revenue paid. The revenue subcommittee does it,
Okay.
this afternoon.
Okay,
Okay, then.
all right, so, not in our wheelhouse.
Right, it's 1:00.
Okay.
That applies,
Okay, I'm not that invested.
that applies to the,
Just thought I'd let you know. It's
that
1:00.
applies to the next thing we're talking about, the registry of deeds, which is a profit center for the county. I guess President Kaczynski has a question first.
Yeah, there was, pretty, large cost involved with the venting with that. Court Jester Cafe.
Sure was.
What's that?
There sure was.
So, can you tell me what the total cost of that was?
No, but Diane can.
Okay, I'm sure she knows.
Well, because it came as a change order, it'll be clear on the, Diane will have it.
I actually have it right on my desk.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
Because when I think about the cost of an operation like that, I think you have to look at everything.
Yes, sir.
It's very small print. John.
Yeah, I can do this.
What?
So if this is
Additional work related, yeah, I can read it. It's not specifically broken out, but let me read it to you what it says, okay? It says additional work related to mechanical, electrical, room, ceiling, kitchen exhaust, ductwork, hood, ductwork, and excessive static pressure was about $400,000. Now, I can't tell you what, because it came all as one change order, I can't tell you exactly what. My gut sense is that was a good portion, half of it
Could be
anyway.
more than that too.
I don't think it'd be more because they would have identified it because it wasn't, part of the original project. It was when the city came down and forced us to do it. We were happy with leaving it like it was, but
Did we fail an inspection or something?
the city wasn't, when they did the inspection.
Should have your delegation follow our lead on the codes back in 2017 when we didn't adopt them.
Yeah, it would have been, would have saved us a lot of money.
Okay. All right, so Register Barabay.
Hi, my name is Catherine
Sorry to
Barabay.
keep
For
you
those
waiting.
of you that that's nothing,
Excellent.
I haven't met. I, so with regard to my budget, I'm down from last year about $54,000, and that's mostly as a result of not filling a position that I don't think we need to fill right now. We're doing really well. When I first started it's about 10 years ago now, there were 8 of us, and now there's 6. And I've chosen not to, fill 2 positions over that period of time. Partly because we did during that period of time have people who retired, who had quite a lot of time accrued. And now in the past year and a half or so, I've hired 2 new people who, they're building up their time, and we're able to make the coverage, in the office. So we, have always tried to be very fiscally responsible. There's really, I don't think there's any increases except for 2 lines. One is data processing, and that's partly because as a result of our contract that we have with Fiddler this year, the prices, which was built, we knew this was coming, it's up 3 cents per document. The same amount is put in, I think it's 16,750, I think, for the number of documents. But yeah, so that's up just a little bit. And then the other one, I think, is under the outside expenses, and it's just as a result of, just the increase in I think in some of the microfilm. And I didn't include all of the expenses for microfilm for indexing, because I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to cover that in other areas. So I've tried to be just very, fiscally tight with this and make sure that I usually never go over in any of those areas. And if I do, it's really minimal, just a matter of dollars every year. Office supplies, were really down this year, but part of that was because I looked ahead, and when I could get when I could stock up, when I saw a really good sale on those, I did, so we're okay. We were okay for last year. I didn't have to order too much, but this coming year I might have to. As far as this time, as of, let's see, I think it was February 12th, this time last year, just so you guys get an idea of what's going on, we're down from this time last year to this year, February 12th, about $10,500, so it's not bad, and it always fluctuates, and we're only down about 42 documents, which I think is really amazing, considering that our inventory is so low, and that the rates are not, they're just, I think everyone's hoping that they're gonna go down, but I don't think that's, doesn't look like it, but it's just, the inventory's down, we don't have, but, thankfully, starting this year, looks pretty good. And I know this isn't revenue, but just to give you an idea, everything's going really well, knock on wood, in the office, the staff is fantastic. Everyone pulls together and does what needs to be done. We're working on getting all the books online. I think we're back to 1785 right now, so we don't have too much more to go to get all the images online.
Wow.
And we're scanning those as much, as often as we can. And as far as the indexing, we have all the indexes online, as you would see if you came into the vault. I say the vault, the research area. If you went in there, we have all of those online. I've spent time, speaking to people over the phone on how to access that through our 2 search engines. And once they do it, it's fantastic. They love it. But going through it the first time, it can be a little tedious, a little not quite as intuitive. But that's just for the image, the indexing. As far as just indexing through Laredo and Ava, just up back to 1921, I think it's super easy. But if you go back even further, you kind of got to look at a different document, and we can still access it. So I guess to get to what I was trying to say the first time is that we were working on the indexing also. So now we're back to like 1909. That takes, it sounds like not much, because we were at 1921 but it takes a long time to get those indexes in because we're doing all that manually.
Yeah.
So I think, really progressing. I'm really excited that, we're gonna have all the images online. I think that's fantastic. And I don't know if you have any specific questions with regard to what I put in.
Briefly tell, even though we're not the revenue subcommittee.
Yeah.
How much revenue we have, and I know the office operates at a significant, well, I don't know if we call it a profit, but they do contribute.
Yeah, I mean, last year, I think, it was, 1,244,000. So we were above about 44,000 from what was projected, the 1,200,000. We did put it down, like, at some point, because I think initially we had it at 1,400,000. We put it down to 1,200,000, so that was a good move to do that. So we're about 44,000 above that for last year. About 699,000 of that comes from the real estate transfer tax and the LCHIP, the 4%. So, there's a good amount for recording fees and copies and, postage, all of that, it adds up. So, even though we're not technically supposed to be, our purpose is not revenue producing, thankfully we have been really, revenue producing and, we're a service, for the county. So, yeah.
I urge anybody on the committee seeking and buying or selling real estate to be helping.
Yeah, happy. If anyone would like to come in, I'm happy to go through everything.
Yeah.
Let's hope. That's all.
There's your budget representative.
Yeah, a couple quick questions. I mean, a lot of the expenses, it sounds like there's staff, which you have your
Yes.
staff, and then the other parts, I'm looking through here like per document and copying and per image and
Yeah.
things like that. How much of that is volume based? If
Yeah,
there's not a transaction, you
Right.
don't do the
Yeah.
scanning or you don't do the copying
Yeah.
or whatever, so you don't have the expense as well. Is that
Exactly.
fair?
yeah, and that is very fair.
Yeah.
And that's why, we're really careful to, when we're using just using paper, try not
Sure.
to have any waste. So like we'll cut it and use it for notes,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're really careful with that. Trying to think if there's anything else that, yeah, I would just say too, I'm trying to push this year to get notices out for a property fraud alert because that's a very big deal. I should have brought over the brochures today to give you, but if you want to stop in, we can give you that. If you sign up for that, if you have owned property in Strafford County, then you can sign up for a service free of charge. They don't sell any of your information. It's something we have with our vendor. They provide it, to all the registries that they service. And you'll get a text or an email if anyone records anything with regard to that property in the county, that you sign up for. So it's fantastic. I've had it happen with me personally. I happen to own property in another county also, and it was someone with my exact same name. So when I got it, I was really nervous. I thought, what the heck's going on? But it was just someone with my same name who had property there as well. And, but I was able to check it out and make sure it was all valid. So I think that's a great, it's a great service to have as well.
Can I have a quick follow-up? With the Fiddler, you've got an internet system and support annual contract here. Is that hosting of the images?
Yes, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and everything, and they're fantastic because, anytime we have any issue at all, they're there,
Love it.
to help, yeah,
Thank you.
yes.
Everything Kaczynski.
Yeah, on this clerical staff budget, I see it went up 48,000 plus. Is that with the same amount of people as last year?
It went up,
It went-
it was probably partly because it
It went down.
went down 53.
Oh, excuse me, oh, okay.
Yeah, it went down
Right.
48,000.
Oh, okay, I had added up to
Yeah.
53 or 54,
Oh, good.
53, 233, but maybe,
You got,
oh, that was for the whole entire amount,
You also
sorry,
lost
yeah,
longevity.
so you're right, yeah, so, yeah. And no new equipment, I think we're gonna be fine with that. And if there is, then I can use the surcharge, the hardware account for that, so I think we're doing fine with all that. A lot of it is dictated by the contract that we signed with Fiddler also, that,
How long?
that's a 5-year contract, 5 years.
I got a question.
We researched it out. We,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Did it out.
Not just you guys.
And they're a known entity, they've been,
But the other thing is that, you know, they have to gear up on their end, so a year by year or two, you need a longer term
Yeah.
contract for an entity like that.
right, we worked
That's not
hard
our
to get,
usual.
I mean, I was able to reduce that too, when we did it.
So your digitized stuff, that's, you'll have the lot map and structure on the map, is that what you're digitizing?
And we were also working on the plan, most of the plans are, all the plans are on there up back to 1921. But we have to actually work on some of the plans earlier than that,
Prior.
from 1772 to 1921. So those have to get, although we can, a lot of them, there are some online, some are there, but there are some that are not.
Is that compatible with GIS? Could you feed that in?
Yeah, we do, like, yeah, they go, that gets fed into UNH every, you know, every week, every day, whenever they decide to do it. I've had to work with them a couple years ago because there was an issue that came up and they were fantastic, they're fantastic. Everything happened. It wasn't on our end. It was
But that
on
would be
their
for the
end.
whole county, right?
Yeah, they have it, UNH does all that, yeah. And they do for all the entire state.
Oh,
Every
cool.
county does it, yeah.
That's actually helpful.
Oh, any more questions? Thanks for making the long journey for.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions or you'd like to see anything that, you know, on the registry, please come in. Happy to go through everything with you.
Great.
Take care. Thank you.
Did I remember Barabay or Ruby?
Oh, I go by Barrett. It doesn't matter to me. As long as they're calling.
Dad was Ruby, but like that.
I don't know. That is what I grew up with. I don't know why.
All right, thanks. Okay. All right, so we're back to Commissioner Bowers here and we're in the home stretch here, so this is interest on temporary loans, health and general insurances, other accounts, including the county maintenance, employee engagement, tuition contingency funds, on day-to-day capital expenditures.
So the interest on temporary loans, as you can see, is going down. There is a spell out, we borrowed for 24 million at 3.55%. We borrowed in January and paid in December. We're presuming that the interest will stay the same when we borrow in June or July. Again, we can't borrow more than we expend in any 6-month period. That's a federal arbitrage loss. That's interest on temporary loans. And the rest of the interest you see on bonded payments and interest on bonded debt are debt that's been approved by prior delegations.
There's a line item for bond issue fees that we didn't have last year, is that?
Yeah, we just issued yesterday.
Awesome. Thank you.
It just went out yesterday.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I don't think we could have been more pleased.
Yeah.
3.35
Wow.
for a long-term debt.
How'd you get that?
You know, I wish I could tell you, but I will tell you something fascinating. We had, do you have your sheet, Diane?
Good news.
Yes. We had,
Kill to give that one.
listen to this, we had five bidders, okay, because we go out to the public market. Two of them I recognized, 3 of them I had no idea who they were. The most successful bidder was Robert W. Baird and Company Incorporated at 3.353410. Because they have to carry it all out. And I'll tell you why they have to carry it out. The next one was 3.367. The next one was 3.39, then 3.44, 3.45. So all 5 bids were really close. We don't usually get, even for our tax anticipation notes, we don't get bids this close. So it actually, we're real happy because our financial advisor was talking about 3.9 is what he expected based on other. So for those of you who were on the delegation last year, when he showed up in the little box and told us when to go out to bid on it, because the best time to bid on this was, end of January, beginning of February. He was right on target.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were really happy.
And is that, I'm sorry, just is that refinancing the existing bond in
No,
debt here, or is that just separate new money?
that's a new bond that was voted in. Oh, the bond anticipation note, yes. We had a bond
The bond
anticipation.
anticipation note is covering the annual revenue stuff. No?
No, the
No,
bond anticipation note was retired when we went out for a real bond.
got it. I mean, I don't really have it, but I trust you guys.
Yeah, so-
Let me be honest.
Yeah, so the, just making sure I have this right in my head. You take out a bond anticipation note when you are expecting to bond something a bit in the future, but you have expenses that you need to pay for the stuff that's gonna be bonded before the bond comes through.
And the other part of it is because you're not spending it all at one time. You can, it's easier, interest wise to, stretch it out. And then when you're done, use the, convert it to other bond. But also, if you remember, the interest was much higher when we took out the bond anticipation note. And again, I'm very pleasantly surprised at this rate. And if we had done it when we first were authorized, we'd probably be paying a full point. No, I gotta get into the financial lingo, a full 100 basis points.
Yeah.
More, which would have meant 4.35 instead of 3.35. They call that 100 basis points.
Yeah.
So, we followed his advice and, doggone it, he earned his money.
And then just a sort of a similar clarification, the tax anticipation note is because we get the tax revenue at some point after we have to start spending what it's paying for. So you need the tax anticipation note to tide you over until the tax money actually comes in.
It's 100% correct.
Yeah.
And it's also, entities that loan us that money feel good about the fact that it's guaranteed by the municipal tax collection.
We only collect our tax revenue December 17th.
Yeah.
So we have to pay our bills throughout the year. We have to borrow those tax anticipation notes because we only get that revenue in December.
And that's by statute.
And we'd also,
Yes,
if we change our fiscal year, that means we either have to have a 6-month year or an 18-month year.
Well, if you change the fiscal year, and I'll give you an example that I'm relatively familiar with, and that's Rockingham County, changed their fiscal year a couple of years ago. And what they did was every year put aside money.
Yeah.
So they had enough money to do an 18-month budget.
Yeah.
But the dilemma with that, as Representative Kaczynski will tell you, and I've heard him say many times, that's your money. That's his money.
Yeah.
That's my money. That if we were to do that, that's money that's coming out of our pocket, sitting with the county, until they earn up 6 months worth. So that's one of the dilemmas in doing that.
Yeah. Okay, Representative Kaczynski.
yeah, what's the present amount you have in the undesignated fund balance right now?
As of the end of 2023, we have just a little bit over $2.5 million.
So wouldn't it be a thought to,
We haven't finished closing our books. for
Okay.
2023.
Yeah.
wouldn't it be a thought to use that for, instead of paying interest on the tax and anticipation note?
There's two things that happen. One is that you have to, in order for you to be a viable governmental entity that anybody will loan you money, you have to show them that you have some reserve in case something happens. The State Department of Revenue Administration recommends between 5% and 13%. We don't even quite have 5%. And I think what you will find is at the end of this year, we'll have none. We'll have none, simply because we used some last year and while our expenses are in hand, our revenue was less than anticipated, which we'll go over with the revenue committee this afternoon. So, it wouldn't have worked.
Okay, Reverend Bitsby.
Yeah, does the amount of money we have in that undesignated fund balance have an effect on the bond rate?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
100%.
yeah,
Sure.
If
100%.
you don't have the recommended, rate more, you'll take it down.
Yeah, sure.
As the mayor can tell you.
Yeah, for sure.
So does that mean, given we're expecting not to have that money next year, we're expecting that we're gonna get, next year's budget's gonna be a disaster?
No,
Or-
no, what we're saying
Your
is,
bond rate.
Yeah,
what we're
don't borrow any
saying
money.
the
Okay.
next time we go out to bond, which I have no idea when it's going to be, is something we'll have to factor in.
Or rebuild your,
Or well, that's why I'm
It
saying,
just means
the
you pay a
next
higher
time.
interest rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, or bond insurance,
Mhm.
that's another way, or join with the municipal bond bank. I mean, those were all options. We actually slightly beat the municipal bond bank rate, so we were happy. It's kind of like a competition. So we were, happy with that.
But also undesignated fund balance isn't cash in hand. We have a lot of receivables, as we were talking about the accrual basis of accounting at the nursing home and waiting the very
Year.
long length of time for collections and whatnot. A lot of that fund balance is accounts receivable we're very slow to collect.
That's one of the dilemmas.
Well, we've had.
No, because you don't have the Medicaid system.
yeah, that
Which
long-term
is a
one.
huge revenue source for us. That's the difference. In Rochester, you collect your money promptly.
Yeah.
You get your money, and we collect our money promptly, except for the nursing home.
Yeah, there we know our fund balance essentially when we close the budget.
Yes,
Yeah,
immediately.
Immediately, yeah.
yeah, it's never that simple for us.
Wow.
I don't
I
know
wish
what
it-
Dover's is, I was
I wish,
32 million.
frankly, I wish it was. And I wish I had Rochester's or a portion.
Well, we got too much. We got 32 million.
Well, then, we're a friendly place.
Yeah.
We're just next door, we
Had to-
border.
I wish the taxpayers had that money in their pockets.
I'll tell you, if we had 32 million, first of all, it would never happen. But if we did, that would, a big hunk of that would go for tax reduction.
In 1776, you'd have people hanging for that.
We'd have, actually, if we had any kind of large fund balance, and we've done this before, we've actually cut checks and returned it to the cities and towns.
That sounds like a good thing if it happens. Now we got just,
Based on the percentage of taxes they pay, we cut checks and returned it to the cities and towns when the commissioners at the time felt the fund balance was larger than it should have been.
okay, let's quickly deal with J&A and RRH and health and general insurances.
So for the last 3 years, not counting this year, for 3 years prior, we haven't had a health insurance increase more than 3%.
Wow.
In fact, it's been 2% and 2%. 1 year went down. And this year we got hit. It went up about 10%.
That's typical for what we do.
That's a lot of municipalities I've heard have gotten that hit.
But we, at least we made 3 years with, if you add it all up, if you think about it, we got 10 this year, and even if we got 3 to last, that would be, 17, 18% over 4 years. That's pretty amazing. And we attribute a lot of that to the employees doing the right thing when it comes to needing services. I had fallen and hurt my knee, and I needed an MRI. I called, like our insurance company asks us to do.
Mhm.
And the difference between getting the MRI that I did and having the MRI done at the hospital was $600 to $2,400. So I can save our insurance company, which lessens the overall premium, because that's a factor for the next year. So our insurance company, actually gives you a reward.
For sure.
Not a, it's a, could be $50, if you have an MRI done at the place they suggest, so you don't even have to do it. You can just call them, tell them about the doctor's order. They will find the place. It's gotta be within 20 miles.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, it's gotta be within 20 miles of where you live. They'll find it, schedule your appointment at your convenience and everything, and then they give you a reward. But it saves them and ultimately the employees, a lot of money. So let me just tell you one other thing about health insurance that's different than any place as far as I know. And you could correct me if it's different in Rochester. In other places, your health insurance, you've agreed with your unions to pay, let's say it's 80-20. The entity, the government pays 80% and the employees pay 20%. Well, that means when you walk into negotiations, if there is an increase in health insurance, you're already pursuing, the government is already assuming 80% of the increase. Really not a whole lot of incentive for the employees to negotiate, because they're only paying 20% of the increase. We don't do it that way here. We offer a subsidy. So any increase, absent an agreement to the contrary, goes on the employee. And that encourages the employees that's why I don't think, for those of you that have been on the delegation for a while, we've never had an unsettled union contract. So, we have 5 unions, all 5 were settled by, December for a January start. Once you all approve the budget, then we back pay to January 1st. But, because they don't want to get stuck with the 10%, increase, because all of it would go on them.
That's why, I don't know if you have enough employees at the counties, but that's why in the school district, when you do your negotiations, when it comes back up for your younger employees, I know you say they only pay 20%, but if you're 20% and you're 25 years old and you're kind of bulletproof, that you begin to negotiate a different plan with them with a higher deductible. That way it decreases the cost for the younger employee, what their 20% is. And since it's a risk, of course, but they'll say it's worth the risk because it saves me money on the front end, and I'm hoping I'm not gonna get hurt on the back end.
Hit by bus insurance.
Yeah,
Totally.
we've tried that with a high deductible.
It's hard.
The union, and even though the union
No one wants
approved it, nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is, we do offer, if you have alternative insurance somewhere else.
Yeah, buyout.
We offer a
$60.
$60 per week buyout.
Do you do that?
And
I'm sorry.
one last thing that we've just started last year, because the rules have changed, for those of us who are elderly employees, I'm on Medicare.
And you don't get a buyout, right?
I don't get a buyout. The county pays my Medicare, but saves $6,000-7,000 a year for me. And then another $6,000 or $7,000 a year for my wife, who also happens to work at the county, actually longer than me. She's been here over 40 years. So, we're both on Medicare. The county pays the bill, but the county saves about $12,000. Based on what it would pay if we weren't on Medicare. So we've got,
We switched over, I think we're at 22 people now
Wow.
that we've moved from the employee insurance to they've gone on to Medicare. We reimburse for their Part B, and then we pay for their supplemental. And it's a lot less money than.
How many total employees are there?
Oh,
22 out of 50, 22 out of 500?
500.
we have like
What's your average
560.
age? You must be.
I'm starting to worry about average age.
We're like,
employee.
oh, yeah.
Well, that's the other part of it is, when it's reviewed, us people who are considered based on our age as the risk have been eliminated, because
Yeah.
obviously everybody
That is
that's
the higher
No, I-
risk.
they're the higher risk
That's
people.
fine. I was thinking about risk not from an insurance perspective, but of are we gonna have people that know how to do things 5 years from now when you all decide you no longer wanna work here?
Probably not.
No, no.
Different concern, we don't need to do it in the budget meeting.
Let me
Let's-
tell you one of the other dilemmas is, of course, a number of years ago, we lost about 50 employees due to a cut in the budget. I have a limited ability to cross-train people. It's very difficult to cross-train. If you were to review the nursing home budget, you see that I cut about 6 or 8 positions. So I'm borrowing people, I'm borrowing, as an example, I'm borrowing a biller from the jail. And we were able to eliminate one of the 2 billers at the nursing home. And that biller at the jail knows how to do our doctor billing, as an example. So she will go over a half day, a week, and do all the doctor billing for all of the nursing home. And when we had somebody leave, I just didn't fill the position. And there's a handful of other positions over at but I have a hard time. One thing that was fortunate is that I don't want this to sound self-serving, but right now, the state allows me to, as a licensed nursing home administrator, to also be the administrator of Hyder House. Our hospice house. But I will tell you that in the license, it says it's exclusively to me.
Wow.
So I sense that, when I leave, you're probably gonna need a second administrator. Nursing home administrators aren't cheap. Rockingham just hired one. I was covering at Rockingham last summer, and I'm sure they paid their new one well in excess of 170,000.
You mean when you're 65 years old, you could stay on the county, on the healthcare, the county?
Well, now on Medicare.
Wow.
I know, but you mean, because when I became 65, I had the state plan, which I was paying for as a state rep. They said you're off. You mean
No.
you could have stayed on this?
Yeah.
Means you could have stayed on too.
Well, it's a better deal. It would have been a better deal paying the 30 grand. Because what they charge me for Medicare.
Oh,
If
you
you
must
make
be
any money.
Yeah, you gotta be in a higher income bracket. Yeah.
From Medicare to
So anyway, that's just a couple of unique things that I thought I'd explain when we talked about health insurance, about ways in which we're trying to curb the costs.
All of your employees, they take part, or at least have the opportunity to take part in that price shopper, as well as they have like a wellness check thing.
Yeah.
I remember we did
Yes,
that.
sir.
Okay. If there is the other accounts, county convention, that's us.
It's, certainly overspent last year. I don't expect, because we had so many meetings on the nursing.
We just had one too many parties, that's all.
Yeah.
Employee appreciation, so
That's what I mean.
we haven't spent more. So, yeah,
No,
they all deserve, yeah.
we do fundraising, I know this sounds, we do things like bake sales and other stuff that helps pay for the employee appreciation.
I think you're gonna say for the roof or something like.
No, it's not quite that bad.
You're probably mostly selling another employee, paying for their own appreciation, but they get some tasty baked goods to log in, so. And the sheriff contract negotiations.
It's actually part of, honestly speaking, that's part of all the negotiations. We have one negotiator that we actually don't pay him by the hour, we pay him by the month. He negotiates the 5 contracts and does any union grievances, which I think we had one last year that went to the commissioner. And none that went to arbitration.
The tuition assistance zeroed out,
So-
We had anybody apply.
just because no one
We didn't have anybody apply.
Okay.
Now, remember, the deal with tuition assistance, let me explain that because you've asked. No, it's important.
No, it's like, remember, I've never heard it before, so
Well,
I can't
it's-
remember.
It was primarily done for the nursing home
Okay.
to encourage LNAs to become either MNAs, which is medication nursing assistants, LPNs or RNs. So we would pay 40, 50, or 60% of your cost of going, whether, depending on your grade. And you would have to work for us once you've completed for 4 full years.
Mm.
And it depreciates at 25% per year. But a lot of our nurses are our LPNs
Are
that,
there, yeah.
you know, that stayed with us. As they acquired their degree. In order for you to qualify, it has to be a degree that has something to do with the county operation,
That's-
obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is though, no one applied for it, so we don't need the money this year. If someone applied next year, we put it back in the budget.
Yes, sir,
The
that's
program
correct.
still exists.
That's, yes, sir.
Then I'm fine with that.
And you'd find there was some money in the nursing home one.
Okay, thank you.
And I think it's a capital expenditures, so it's like, actually, we had a whole bunch of them,
I think there's like none. I mean,
there's a deed, back in the registry of deeds equipment, so.
yeah, but that's, self-funded.
Yes, oh, yeah.
Okay.
The county attorney needs a refrigerator?
Yes, we did. Well, this is a refrigerator up in the jurors room, which is actually where we've been having our delegation meetings for whatever reason, so that,
Yeah, the state paid for that one, so.
yeah, oh, the state paid for that one. Anyway, that one, we're not putting any more money in. That was from last year's budget, wasn't the refrigerator? And yeah. And it's still 320 left over. We got a good deal.
What is-
Okay, anybody else? Oh, Representative Pearson.
What is jail RTU IntelliPack replacement?
Way back.
I guess I got. I'm sorry, could I just look at your,
Am I on the wrong one?
The phone number on the last page, yeah. Okay.
It sounds like a computer system of some kind.
A lot of random letters will go in an acronym.
No,
IntelliPack.
and telepack too, is like a,
That's a
jail's
dead
20 years
giveaway.
old now.
yeah.
What is it? I just didn't know what it was.
You were right.
Okay. And so we covered everything,
paid last year.
administrator, yeah.
I think we're done.
Okay, I think we're almost ready to go, so we need to take a vote on whether or not we recommend the
Changes, votes, whatever is appropriate for the committee.
any changes. I mean, like the wrap this up here, so I know one member.
Move to approve.
Second, okay. So, that objection, I'll, take the vote, we take a roll call.
It would be helpful, but
Yeah.
you don't have to.
Roll call, please. We're fine.
Yeah.
Lindsay,
No.
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
and Horgan.
Yes.
5-2.
Okay, great, all right.
So your committee report and the vote will be presented to the executive committee.
Yeah, remind us when that is, and like,
7, is that right?
March 7th, so. I'll be there.
And then ultimately, that report will go to the full delegation.
All right,
Ask her, don't ask me.
And then the call meeting is the 16th for everybody, is that right?
March 19th.
19th, okay, and then Sunday's 26th, okay. Perfect.
okay, I'm not in trouble. But what,
Alright, so that's how.
Thank you all very much.
okay,
So-
okay, thanks for your time, everybody.